Version of this in terms of facing your fears with my own book. So I told you, my friend was the one who really helped me recognize the opportunity of this idea, and I excitedly started working on this. And unbelievably, a local publisher initially picked up the book, and it was going to be published. And so my wife and I were very excited to share the news with my mother-in-law. And you know how mother-in-law relationships can be anyway. So here's how that conversation went. I'll use prop because it really, so it didn't exist yet, but like, hey, guess what? Frank is writing a book on pregnancy for men. And she said to that, why would, and this is one of those, so there are times when people are being mean, and they're like, oh, and they're calculating, and you're really mad because you can imagine them plotting and so on. And then there are other times where people just blurt out the thing that is clearly the first thing that popped into their head. This was one of those times. And she said, with all candor and sincerity, why would anybody buy a book written by you? So, back to facing your fears, well, isn't that why we don't pursue our dreams? It's exactly what keeps us from not taking actions. We're terrified that somebody will say out loud exactly what we're thinking, too. I mean, that thought had crossed my mind when I was writing the book proposal, attempting to convince the publisher that I was a legitimate author. It's like, are they going to buy this? Are they going to believe it? I mean, who am I? And so then when somebody else says it to you, it really, that wasn't a good day. But I'll say this about what enables people to keep going in pursuit of their passion when things get tough, and they always do. Usually, the thing that keeps you going is your passion for the activity, the topic, what have you. And maybe that's like 85% of the time your passion is what gets you through. I am going to say that the other 15%, for example, like Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player of all time, cut from his high school basketball team. You think that, like, when the going got tough, he didn't sort of remember that and go, I'm going to shoot that coach, the mistake he made? So I will admit, the other 15% of the time when I was working on the book, and it was hard to get myself to write, and writers know, there are days when the words just happen, and there are days where you're like, oh, man, I can't write anything. I will admit, on those days, I thought of the expression that would appear on my mother-in-law's face when I produced this book. So there can be some powerful, unexpected benefits of speaking your dreams. And oddly enough, I would say that one of them is you can identify these people that I call toxic skeptics. I mean, you know who they are, right? They're the people who rain on your parade. If you articulate a goal that's exciting to you, their most likely response is to disparage it, to cast doubt upon, oh, you never do that, or you'll be sorry, or it'll cost you money, they'll come up with 10 reasons why you can't. It's the boyfriend sabotaging the girlfriend's diet, right? Why would you do that? So I think it's actually, and this is what keeps us from sharing our dreams, I actually think it's really important to share them, to find out who these people are. Because you want to be able to surround yourself with people who will support you, and you need to know where you're not going to get support, and frankly, insulate yourself from people who are going to rain on your parade. And my theory, having encountered this so many times, is what's really going on for those people when they respond that way is when you model bold action and daring to dream, you remind people who aren't pursuing their dreams that they could if they were willing to take the chance. And they're left with two options. One is to take bold risks themselves, which are scary things to do. The other, which is far easier, is to cast aspersions on your goals. And so I think a lot of the time when we run into the toxic skeptics, it's because they are harboring goals of their own that they know they haven't acted on. And so I try my best to understand where that's coming from, but also there's only so much of that you can take if you are just starting out and your own path is a little fragile, right? And so it's good to identify who the toxic skeptics are so that you can kind of manage and avoid them. The flip side is once you start speaking your dreams, you can really build an amazing circle of support, people who are excited by your goal and want to help you and get behind you. I had the privilege of working for many years at K2 in town and being executive producer of the AM Northwest, and I got to know Helen Raft as well. She's the host of the program. And I still remember well, she battled breast cancer, and in her position as a journalist, she saw it as an opportunity to share her story with viewers in hopes that she would motivate other women to get checked and to take a good care of themselves. And so she decided, after, when she was coming out of that process, she wanted to do something to reclaim her health and decided to run a marathon. And what you need to know that Helen would say is that at that time she was a 3-mile-a-day jogger, by her own description. And so for her, a marathon was a huge stretch goal. But once she started sharing that goal, she found all kinds of support from the local cancer community in terms of other survivors who wanted to cheer her on and see her succeed. At the station, there were a bunch of us like me who are runners who were thrilled to sort of have someone to experiment on and share all of our tips and lessons learned with. And then she did something really smart, which is she joined a local group that prepares people to run marathons called Portland Fit. And they have this wonderful program that lasts 6 months, and it matches you by your pace with other people at your same level. And so she was not trying to prepare for a marathon with a bunch of 6-minute mile guys. She was running with other 3-mile-a-day joggers in the beginning. And she got this amazing circle of support from peers who had a similar goal, but were also starting at a similar place. And so with that kind of amazing support, and I'll share more about how she got to the finish line, but she was able to accomplish what was a huge stretch goal for her and actually run a marathon. So the power of speaking your dreams is not only to identify who will not be there for you, but also to build a circle of support for people who will help you make it to where you're trying to go. And John Wooden, probably the most successful coach of all time in any sport, had this to say when it comes to our fears around failing at pursuing our dreams. And I think it's good motivation to get us over the hump of, let's just go for it. Do not permit fear of failure to prevent effort. We're all imperfect and will fail on occasion, but fear of failure is the greatest failure of all. So let's go do it. Now,